Hello, everyone, for another edition of Office Hours. Hey, Eric. Quick question. What framework is the WeWeb workflow builder based on? I'd like to build a similar workflow experience for my end users. Any out-of-the-box resources you can share? That's a good question. Um, I don't know what kind of, I presume we've used a library that exists out there to create the workflow builder. But I'm not too sure exactly what the devs would have used. Maybe there's a library called ViewFlow, which is a node builder. We might have used ViewFlow. I'm not 100% certain. Give me 1 second. I'm going to check if you create a workflow, maybe you can inspect the HTML, and we've left some clues as to what library we've used behind the scenes. I can't see anything in the inspector, but just give me 1 second. There might be somewhere else I can find out more info to see if there is any clues as to what library we used out of the box. I'm still looking, Eric. Just give me 1 second. So as far as I can tell from my research, I think what we have is completely custom built. We haven't used some kind of library. But if you were going to go, I mean, it's quite complex. So if you were going to do this yourself, my recommendation would be using something like Flow, which is a library for creating kind of node-based drag and drop interface and going about it that way, probably with a custom coded component. I recommend going down the AI custom coded component route with Flow for something like this. And there's a lot of things you can do with Flow. So whenever you are prompting AI to build it, just trying to be as precise as possible with the properties you want to expose and what functionality you need. Because I know from experience, Flow can be so, there's just so many possibilities that sometimes it can be quite difficult to get AI to do what you want it to do unless you are very precise with it. So that would be my recommended approach. And we do have a video on using Cursor or Claude Code to create the coding components. So just let me know if you'd like a link to it on our YouTube. Pretty much, yeah. You would It very much depends on your specific use case, but the base premise would be you have some kind of flow builder on the front end that outputs JSON. You store that JSON in Supabase, and then yeah, I'm not sure how you would need to process it per se, because I think you would just store the raw JSON in Supabase, and then when you need to retrieve that JSON, and then just put it back into the component that you have on the front end. But if you need to process it, then yeah, you'd have an edge function that sits in the middle to process it. Hey, Deuce. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. What are WeWeb's plans for 2026? I can't speak on anything past Q1 for now, but basically our primary focus right now is to launch the full stack experience. Flo and Raf, the founders, are doing a talk tomorrow. I think it's 6 p.m. Central European time, so pretty much this time tomorrow. And they'll be discussing the plans for the future, and it will pretty much all revolve around the plans for the full stack experience, which is very much in the works. We've been working on it for a couple of months now. I'm super excited to get it out the door because we've been very much kind of working on it behind the scenes, not showing very much. And it's just amazing to use behind the scenes in our testing environments because of how quickly it speeds things up and how simplified it makes the whole front end to back end experience. So yes, that's the main thing. We hope to launch it start of next year. So January, February is the most likely time period. And then beyond that, I'm not too sure. I couldn't speak on that. You'd have to tune in tomorrow to hear from Raf and Flo as to what the primary plans are beyond that. So it is a built-in database, but it won't be logged in. So in the same way you can export the code now and self-host, you'll be able to do that with the backend. So we will now have a built-in database if you want to use it. If you want to continue using an external database like Zan or Supabase, you're still more than able to do that. We'll have some different views you can now utilize for that. But if you do choose to opt for a built-in database, you'll have it. But like you can do now, where you can self-host, you'll still be able to self-host your database and any APIs you create. So there'll be no lock-in. It'll be like Bubble, just obviously without any lock-in. You can export and self-host. Hey, Merb. Is it normal that the HTML content of the WeWeb website doesn't appear in the source code? And what are the consequences for our reference? HTML content of the WeWeb website doesn't appear in the source code. I'm not too sure what you mean, Inspire. Could you give me a bit more context? You mean as in the editor, when you export it, in the live project? Where exactly? And then what do you mean as in, what are the consequences for your referencement? I'm not too sure what that means. Ah, Brian has joined. Hey, Brian. I think Brian is there just yet. I will take him out for a second.
Hey.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. How's it going?
It's going okay. I'm a beginner with
Uh-huh.
WeWeb. I'm coming from Bubble, so WeWeb is the best alternative for now since it allows us to export our code, which is really nice.
Yep.
So you mentioned something about having the backend built in already for WeWeb application,
Mhm.
and I think you said it's an opt-in feature for anyone interested to join. This.
Mhm.
But now my question is there what do you call it? Like for example, one of the things that made me to move from Bubble was because their database was sort of basic in a way,
Mhm.
in terms of, for example, Superbase allows you to define custom edge functions,
Mhm.
right? And for example, they enforce a 2.5 limit for their backend workflows. That this is Bubble, that is. But
What do you mean by a 2.5? Sorry.
so they have 150 seconds timeout
Ah,
hard
okay. Okay. Okay.
for their backend workflows. And I just wanted to hear from you what would be different from
Yeah.
your database and what kind of functionality will be availing to us. Is
Yeah.
it something like Superbase where it's open for you and you can do everything, or is it like a lockdown system such as theirs?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is the founders of WeWeb, Raf and Flo. Flo's the CPO and Raf's the CEO. They're doing a talk. They're doing a live stream on this YouTube channel tomorrow at the same time, and they'll be answering all these questions. And I think Flo will be doing a demo. So I definitely recommend to check that out because they can probably give you more technical details. But what I could say is I don't know what Bubble is using behind the scenes, but I don't think it would be anything like Bubble. So we aren't using Superbase behind the scenes, but we are using something like Superbase. And again, I haven't used Bubble in a while, so I don't know exactly what you can build around it. But have you used Xano at all?
Yeah, I've worked with Xano.
Yeah, it would be much like Xano. So you have your database, you
Mm.
can create whatever you want in your tables. You can then create APIs in the same way you can on Xano. You can interact with your database using those APIs, or you can use whatever actions you like to manipulate data, run custom JavaScript, whatever. And there's two other things you can do. So you can create functions. That's much like Xano again, where you just create functions that you can use in APIs. And there's also something called middleware. It's a more advanced feature, but it's in there if you need it, where you can restrict access to certain things at a very granular level. So if someone wants to get a certain record, you can do different checks to make sure they're allowed to get that record and certain things. So I haven't used Bubble in a while. I don't know the ins and outs of the restrictions, but in terms of like the key backends out there that exist in this space at the minute, with say Superbase and Xano, it's very much on that level in terms of freedom. But I'd recommend you check out the stream tomorrow to see it in action.
Okay, definitely, for sure. I'll be watching that as I prepare to work on my first project, actually, on WeWeb. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Just so your question in Spear, on the front end, when I see the code source of the website, I don't see the HTML structure H1, H2. So I'm wondering about the consequences about SEO of the website. Yes. So SEO isn't WeWeb's forte. I could say that. So if you were to compare Webflow and WeWeb, Webflow will definitely beat, or more than likely beat, WeWeb in terms of SEO scores, just because of how JavaScript gets loaded. WeWeb creates things in a much more dynamic way, let's say. So if your ultimate goal is SEO, that's our stance. We don't recommend you use WeWeb if SEO is absolutely business critical, because certain things can affect SEO. I'm not sure about the H1, H2. I'll double check that myself, because I think we do. I have certain things I've tested in the past few days that relied on H1 and H2, so I think we do show it in some way. But regardless, just because of the page structure and different things of that nature, SEO isn't optimal when you're building with WeWeb. So it's just something to be aware of. It's not absolutely horrendous. It's not non-existent. It just isn't as optimal as it could be if you were using a different platform. Will there be any extra cost or pseudo cost for performance, like bubble workflow units? Yeah, that I don't know yet. So that's not in my hands. It's still something we're deciding on. I think Raf, our CEO, might speak on it more tomorrow, because I'm not too sure how it will be priced. We're still working on things behind the scenes, so I don't think it's actually fully decided yet. But Raf can speak on the pricing side more than I can. I don't want to speak for him too much. I don't think we'll go down the road of workflow units, because I'm also not a big fan of it. But as I say, I'm not sure what's been decided for that yet. So it's one I'd recommend to put in the chat tomorrow if you can make it for the stream, because Raf could answer it better than I can. So let's create a website with WeWeb. There is no need to use H1, H2 or keywords in a page in all best SEO practice. There is still a use to it. Let me just do a quick check, because I do think, I mean, you can choose a text element to be H1 and H2, obviously. And as I say, I've done some things in the past couple of days that did require detecting H1 and H2s, and it did it correctly. So I just want to test this on my side. Because there is a use to it. It improves accessibility, and it does improve SEO, even if WeWeb isn't optimized for SEO purposes. So it's definitely still recommended. As for it not actually rendering as a H1, H2, I'd be surprised if that is the case. Let me just quickly check it on my side. Yes, I'm not too sure how you have it set up, but I can see on my side that they are, if I set something to be H2 and H1, they are correctly being shown as that. So I shall share my screen just to show you as an example. So for example, in my project, I have these two headers. I've set them both to be I meant to set this one as H1 and this one as H2, but I accidentally set them both to be H2, but they're still getting rendered as that. So in the settings of the text element, I've changed the tag here. So you can see they're both set to be H2. And then when I visit a live project and I inspect the HTML, you can see it does have a H2 tag, and same with this one. So when you do set things such as H2s or all infos or whatever it might be, it does actually get put into the HTML. So it would impact accessibility in SEO. So it's definitely still recommended if SEO is of absolute importance, because it would make those kind of micro differences. And it does get rendered in HTML if you do actually set them up. Okay, sorry. The source code, honestly, I'm not too sure of then. I don't really know enough about SEO to give you a good answer on that, unfortunately. Potentially because it's a dynamic page, something related to what I mentioned before about JavaScript might mean that it's not properly detected. But unfortunately, Inspire, I'm honestly not too sure. If you want, I will pop a link to the community in the chat. You can put a question there, because Augustine, who runs the community, he could ask one of the devs and give you a better answer. Because yeah, I'm sorry, unfortunately, I don't know enough about SEO to give you a good answer on that. No worries, and apologies I couldn't give you a good answer live. What are the further improvements that you look forward to other than built-in database? I mean, with the database comes everything that we can do with a built-in backend. So it's not just the database, it's everything around it. So it's the fact you can now set up basically backend workflows. So you can set up APIs, aka backend workflows. There's a bunch of things you can do with those APIs. There's now integrations, built-in integrations. So before, If you're using like Supabase or Xano, it's quite tedious to have to set up some kind of email sending integration. So like SendGrid, Resend, those kinds of things, or a Slack integration. They take a huge amount of time if you have to do it through an external service. And also if you want to set up some kind of authentication integration. So if you want Google SSO, some kind of LinkedIn SSO, that kind of thing, again, takes ages. But with the backend now, we have obviously the built-in database, but we have all the stuff around it. So we have APIs, we have integrations, which means there's basically a one-click way to now add Google SSO to your project. There's a one-click way to add resend, for example. So you have a workflow action to send an email. So all that kind of stuff that comes with having our own backend, that's the biggest thing. It's not just the built-in database. So for the short term, that's definitely going to be the biggest improvement. And there's lots of kind of micro improvements that come with it. Beyond that, again, I'm not too sure because so much comes with this that's the main thing on our roadmap right now. So yeah, beyond the kind of full stack experience, I'm not too sure because we have so many ideas for it. First step is getting it out the door, but there's so many cool things we can do with it now around having our own full stack experience that yeah, we just need to get into the hands of you guys and see what the next logical step is. Yeah, 100% it will be a game changer. I'm testing it now in my day-to-day, and I mean, it's honestly crazy how quickly you build things. Before, something that would take me hours upon hours, because it's now a full stack experience, and obviously if you're used to the WeWeb editor, then using the backend is seamless because it's the same workflow UI, just now it's a backend workflow, so it's an API. And then tables, if you use like Airtable or Supabase or Xano or even Google Sheets, there will be a Google Sheets integration, by the way, and an Airtable integration if you need it. I'll touch on that in a second, actually, because I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I mean, if you're used to the WeWeb UI, then it's seamless to pick up the backend. And because it is a full stack experience now, the rate at which you can build that compared to before is just honestly crazy. The things I'm building within a few hours now. So 100% will be a game changer. And on the Airtable and Google Sheets, I forgot to mention that because one of the things you can't do right now is secure Airtable. I don't know if there's a platform out there that lets you secure Airtable. There might be. We haven't been able to do it with our standard plugin to now, but one of the integrations that will be with the backend is Airtable and Google Sheets, and I'm sure there'll be a host of other ones to come. But the nice thing about it is you can kind of stick your own logic on top of it, even Supabase actually. So if you wanted to use Supabase as your database, you can still do that. But if you wanted to use WeWeb's backend to set up your APIs and stuff to interact with Supabase, you can also do that. So if you enjoy the visual building experience, but you have Supabase as your database right now, you enjoy using that as your database, cool, you can do that, but you could use WeWeb's APIs to build logic on top of Supabase in a visual way, which is very cool. And you can do that for a bunch of platforms now. So you can do that with Supabase. If you even use Airtable, but you want to secure your Airtable, stick extra logic on top of it, you could use Airtable as your database for your WeWeb project, use APIs in WeWeb to interact with your Airtable in a secure way. Same with Google Sheets. So yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff that comes with it. Will there be further support for PWAs since now there'll be a built-in backend for this, such as push notifications, etc.? It's a good point. It's another one I'd recommend to put in the chat tomorrow. Flo, the CPO, could answer it much better than I could because it's a very good point. It would be much easier to cater for that kind of thing now with the built-in backend. But I think it just, because getting the kind of primary backend out there, get it released is the main thing we've been focused on for now. PWAs just haven't been one of the things we discussed, but I'd definitely recommend asking it tomorrow because I think Flo could give you a very good answer on that. And I think he'd be very interested in it. And Sean has joined us. Hey Sean, how's it going?
How are you?
Good, how are you? Can you hear me all right?
My audio is not working. Hold on. Shit. You can hear me, right?
Yes. Have you got me?
All right, keep talking.
Check,
Got
check,
4
check.
outputs.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
You can hear me okay? Can you hear me?
No, that was not working. Dang it. I got too much running.
Test, test, test.
Sorry.
No, testing.
I got.
1, 2, 3.
You can kick me back into the waiting room. I'll play with it.
Cool. Hey, Priyanshu, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apologies if not. How's it going? If you can hear me, Sean, feel free to just pop a message in the private chat whenever your audio's back. Can you hear me, Sean?
Not yet. Sorry.
No, okay. I'm a web developer with 1 year of experience. Any advice for me? Yeah. I wish I could probably, you know what, I would say actually, yes, still the WeWeb Academy is the best place to go. The content is outdated in the sense that we've updated the UI quite drastically since the WeWeb Academy was created. However, the core content remains the same. So Joyce, who is the lady in the Academy videos, the steps she takes to build remains the exact same in the current WeWeb product. I'll put a link to the Academy in the YouTube chat. The steps she takes to build is the exact same as it is today. The only difference is the UI is obviously different. So, but the core concepts remain. So the idea of putting elements on the page, how you style those elements, how you position elements relative to one another to make the page look how you want it to look. The core ideas of binding, that's one of the biggest flexibility things with WeWeb, I would say, is the fact you can bind pretty much anything. Understanding variables, these kinds of things, the core concepts that are covered in the Academy remain the exact same today. The only thing that's different is the UI. So I would say check out the Academy, go through a few of the videos, and then alongside that, just try and find a product that you want to recreate in WeWeb, because you can pretty much recreate anything. When I was first kind of going around the no-code tools, and trying to see which one to use. When I picked out WeWeb, I thought, okay, I'm going to try and rebuild Twitter in a WeWeb, which was amazing because it showed me the potential of WeWeb when I got it working. But it also just got me familiar with the platform. So I think check out the Academy videos, try and recreate a product that you like because it will show you the capabilities of WeWeb, but you'll also learn a lot about the platform. We're trying to make some of the small nuances of your product to work. Plus, if you're a web developer with 1 year of experience, there's still going to be a learning curve, but I think it'd be a lot flatter than if you were starting from 0 experience, because at the end of the day, WeWeb is just a visual layer on top of code. So if you understand code to a certain degree, it's much easier to understand what the visual layer is abstracting. Coming from Bubble myself, I highly appreciate local pricing discounts where our currency is weak. I hope WeWeb keeps same mentality when new additions come into play. Also no price for ISA prices. Yeah, hopefully. As I say, I'm not sure. I'm not involved in that kind of discussion of things, but I'm sure Raf can speak on it tomorrow. Sean is back with us. Hey Sean, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Super, cool. How's it going?
Good, man. I'm gonna go surfing here. A little bit.
Nice. You live near the beach?
Yeah, I'm in Tampa, St. Pete. I do kite surfing actually.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Where are you?
I'm in Barcelona, so we have a beach, but I don't have a surfboard, unfortunately. At least not in December.
I'll send you one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Christmas present.
Yeah, exactly. All the help you help. So this won't take long since you're such a genius. So I'll share my screen and see what you got. All right. So when AI creates stuff with headers and footers on a repeat, data set, it doesn't line up too well, the header and the footer row. So you have to like go in and do the column widths. And, would you recommend pixels or would you recommend, because I think it did pixels in the repeater rows.
Honestly, I would say for this, is there a reason you want to opt for doing it manually instead of just using the data grid element?
Oh, table.
So like if you open the add panel,
oh yeah,
and you type in data grid, and then the one on the right, yeah, this one, it will come with just some. If you choose to include variables, it just comes with some mock data. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
I'd highly recommend this just because tables are an absolute pain in the backside because of how many small little things you have to cater for.
Yes.
Whereas this one handles a lot of things out of the box. You'll have to get a bit hacky with setting up, because I can see how you've got things set up in your table. You'd have to get a bit hacky with how you set that data grid element up, but in the long run, it would still be way easier than trying to set things up manually with divs and stuff.
Well, I'm pulling data from a spreadsheet and from random cells, so it's not a normal data query.
It should still be good, because I guess if you could click on your manual one at the top, you're still repeating rows based on data, right? Yeah, I can see on the left you've got it bound to something because they're dynamically repeating. So you could still definitely make it work, because whatever data you have this bound to, you would just use that data in the data grid element and it would work.
Okay. All right. Jeez. I thought since it was not a normal data set, it was not a, a select from, it's a pick. But I think how did we do? Well, this is AI, so.
Yeah, it should, it will still work because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a list of data. So as long as you have a list of data, you can feed that into the data grid element. Okay.
So data set element comes from this blue, right? And what's a purple? They're just variables.
They're bindings. So this, because you see on the left in the layout tree, you've got the table body, and then beneath that you've got table row. On the very far left, yeah, here. You see the way they're marked purple? The purple is to indicate that it's a binding.
Right.
So you've got that row bound, and then it says, you can see on the far left in the layout tree, just on the right side, it says 6 because there's 6 items in whatever you've got it bound to. Just above that. Yeah. So that purple indicates that it's a binding. So in that window you had open, those kind of fields, they were purple just because it indicated this is coming from the data you have this bound to.
Okay. All right. And then if I want to trace where the data, because it should be from a spreadsheet. My developer worked on it, so I had trouble following it.
So you could, so if you click on the table body element on the far left, because that's where the binding is set up. And then if you click on items on the right, this will tell you, so it's a variable. So I'm not sure how this is getting populated, but there'll be some kind of jiggery pokery on the back end, get the data from the back end, and then you're probably saving it to this variable in some way.
Okay. All right. Got it. And then all the variables are under
in data. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, I mean, it's I'd recommend just binding that variable to that data grid underneath and doing it that way.
All right. And then I can at least sort and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. You'd have to for some of the things, as I said, you'd have to do a bit of some hacky stuff. We can do it now, actually. So if you click on the settings panel on the right, the one in the middle, that one, and then click on the data field. And then if you get rid of this and replace it with that variable you were using, I can't remember what it was called now. We can potentially pull it out if you just click back onto the table above and get the variable. If you want, I'm not sure if you know about this, if you hover row category, you can expands out and you can click on the parent elements, which is kind of handy for stuff like this. Yeah, so now you've got the table body selected, and then you could go on the right and then go into that binding, yeah. And if you want, you could highlight this. So you can highlight variables. So you could highlight this, like drag across it to highlight it. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world. You can do it, and then Control C it or whatever. And then when you go back into the data binding for this data grid, you could paste it in.
Where do I paste it?
On the right-hand side in the settings, the middle one, and then in data, yeah. And what you can do with this is you can press generate columns on the right side, and it will basically look at all of the, So it looks at all the fields and creates columns based on the fields in the data.
Wow, that's great, man.
Yeah.
That is. Wow. So it just kind of follows the sequence down here.
Yeah, you'll need to do a bit of stuff to perfect it now. So you see the way the column headers are like initial _ weight. So they're not really human readable because it's just pulled it straight from the data, and this is how it's written in the data. But what you can do then is if you expand it on the right side, you can customize it using the header name field. So you could open up like initial file and then put in a header name, and it will become whatever you set it to be. So you can make it a human readable version, basically.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
And then there's one last thing for, I can see the earnings column. You want it to have like a dollar symbol, so you want it to have a currency at the start. You could, on the right side, you could expand the initial earnings column, and then you could set custom display value to on. And then if you open that up, you could now see you have the map. So this is mapping to item is the value of this cell. So what you could do is you could put in speech marks a $sign in that formula window.
Speech marks.
Yeah, or like quotation marks, just
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's a British thing, I guess.
And go
And
to
then just-
formulas?
And no, just put a dollar symbol in between the quotation marks, and then put a plus after that end quotation mark. Outside of the quotation mark, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can click mapping item at the bottom. And so now it just adds plus a $sign to whatever's there. So now
Perfect.
if you close this, you'll have a $sign and then the value in the cell.
Yeah, well, I'll probably want to do currency, so
Yeah.
I have to use the formula, right, for that.
Yeah, you could use the formula, or you can also put custom stuff in the cell. So
Okay.
if you wanted to, not to throw too much at you all at once, but on the right side, if you expand a column, doesn't really matter which one, you can change the type from auto to custom.
Perfect. All right,
And when
when
you set it to custom, you can then drag any element in WeWeb into the cell.
Okay. Like a currency.
Exactly, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, we went over that, I think, a couple weeks ago.
No.
But, it leaked out of my brain.
No worries. But yeah,
Alright,
that's the easiest way for the table stuff.
Okay. Cool. And just so I know, let's say I do something like this, like right here, you see how there's an overlap between earnings?
1 second. Yes, it will be. Yeah, this is the thing when you want to set up the manual data grids, is there's so many little things. So I suspect it's because something about the parent element. So whatever box this text element is inside of, the table header row on the left side. If you click table header row, this one, and then if you, on the right-hand side in that panel you have open, if you scroll up a bit, there'll be something about the widths of every column here. So it will be, basically you just need to mess around with changing the width of that column, which I think is number 10. So you'd have to manually change the width of column 10 here. And then, no, it's not that simple.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, these are, it's like the margin, it's got margin, automatic margin, but it doesn't show any margin. See, the margin's here. Oh, I have 12 to the right, but that should.
Yeah, it's, this is a tough one without like going into the project and messing around with a bunch of stuff, because these things are so finicky. So unless it's an absolute deal breaker, I'd always recommend just sticking with the data grid element, because it handles all this stuff out of the box.
All right, but just like for this header category, how do I center this vertically?
If you click on table header row, nice. Okay, this is tricky. Yeah, it's because it's not centered because the other ones wrap, and then it increases the height of like the parent box.
Oh yeah. Well, how about totals? These are centered, but totals isn't.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you click on the parent element, the table footer row, and then if you scroll to the top, it's a grid. If you scroll down just past the column widths, okay, this must be, okay. What you could do for this then is if you scroll to the very top, instead of doing grid, you could change the display to flex. And I think this, yeah, so it overrides what you have, but then you can change the alignment there. Yep. So that centers it. And then what you would have to do is you would have to click on the text element inside of it and then change the width of them on the actual element itself.
Got it.
So you could, yeah, it's pick your poison pretty much. But yeah, this is why there's so many nuances to this. I just say always stick with the data grid because it's way easier.
Yeah, all right. All right, so it wasn't me.
No.
So grid is a little bit finicky. Flex may help, but you still have to go back and all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I knew you'd have. I'll send you a board.
Thank you, and I look forward to it.
Not gonna be very big. It'll be about like.
I mean, if it fits in the ocean, that's good enough.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot for
no worries.
chatting. All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Hey, Anton, I've just seen you've joined. I'm really sorry. I have to jump now because I can't stay beyond the hour. I'm really sorry, though. Same for Abaz. I can't take your question. Anton, this might have been, okay. I will check it, Anton, because I will show you this on my screen. I might have accidentally done this, Anton. I'll show you quickly. So this is what I see in the chat. And I think 2 weeks back, I clicked here and I meant to reply to you, but the block user action is right below reply. And I think when I went to press reply, I accidentally blocked you. And when I did it, I thought, oh no, I've blocked Anton by accident. And I went to check it afterwards and it didn't give me a way to change it in the moment. So I'll check it directly after this. Apologies, because when I accidentally did it, I thought it just reverted it, but it clearly didn't. So I do apologize. But yes, I'll check it after this. Apologies again. It was in no way intentional. Cool. Okay, right. Thank you so much, everyone. We are here same time every Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m. Central European time. Please do join tomorrow at the same time. Raf and Flo are doing a walkthrough of the new full stack experience, and we'll take all the questions that you have. So please do join for that. I'm super excited to basically show it to the world.